disruptive.
America that I fuck.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. So the media circus squandrel around Gaza still continues on, and the establishment, Israel, AIPAC, are so desperate to cling on to this. They are running out of control on the narrative, and here's just another featured attraction on this absolutely crazy circus this is. So this is Piers Morgan on his show, and he invites on an official for the Israeli government. And they ask, Piers Morgan, even though he's very much on the pro-Israel side, pro-genocide, he's an interesting fellow because at least he's willing, and I give credit to this, he's willing to hear both sides of the argument. Because he had on Jackson Hinkle at one point. He had on other individuals who are on the side of pro-Palestine and for a ceasefire. So I give Piers Morgan the credit that he's at least hearing both sides out. And I give also credit to Piers Morgan for this because Piers Morgan is actually going to critique the government official from Israel on how many civilians they have massacred. Because you've heard all the statistics about, we stopped this many terrorists and we stopped this many people. But as you witness and see the carnage, there's far more deaths on the innocent people and the civilians than there are stopping the terrorists. And they refuse to highlight that answer for obvious reasons. And listen to this.
That wasn't my question. It wasn't my question.
I don't have the information.
You literally have no idea how many civilians you've killed.
It's not that I don't know. I'm not authorized to give the information. I don't have the information.
That's complete nonsense. Why are you authorized to give me the number of terrorists you've killed, but not a number of civilians? I don't understand.
Do 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 do.
Can you explain?
Any Western
Oh, man. Takes a certain something for Piers Morgan to stump you. And that is a legitimate question I'd be asking. If you're authorized to tell people out in the open how many Hamas terrorists you're stopping, why are you not releasing the information on how many people in general you've killed? Because then the news would break out. Then they would have to admit that this is more than just terrorists, and this is what we've been explaining throughout this whole process, that this is a complete genocide. This is a war power regime that wants totalitarian force over the Palestinian lives, and they want to massacre them for obvious agenda goals. Otherwise, why would Netanyahu, the guy that's supposed to stop Hamas, invent and orchestrate and pay for Hamas to do their carnage, as revealed multiple times on this channel? And speaking of people that have revealed a lot of important information that's being left out of the mainstream public, here's another interesting take. This is Piers Morgan again, and he had on Abby Martin. Now, Abby Martin is a credible, amazing journalist. She has been to the West Bank and Gaza numerous amount of times, documented, had a show on Telesur that got banned from U.S. sanctions. She's now doing Empire Files. She is really, really inspirational, incredible, and she does fantastic work. And on the right side, you have another spokesperson for the pro-Israel genocide squad. And watch how desperate the pro-genocide crowd is. So desperate. They're clinging on with every force to get this war continuing on because they know that they're losing the battle. They know they're losing touch with people. They know that they can't control and manipulate people anymore. Even though they try to they're banning TikTok in result of it. They're trying to do that to silence out a generation of people. The people are awakened to this. The people are seeing the carnage and the genocide on foot and open. They know that something's up to this. And maybe, like myself, witnessing the 20 plus years of war lies that we have been manipulated into, can kind of pinpoint exactly how this got manipulated in the first place. How October 7th was this event that they needed in order to orchestrate a genocidal warfare pact to go against Palestinians. That maybe there was some sort of manufactured mess and carnage that they need to do to scare people into another war. So here's what went down in this interview.
Palestine was never born. How can you free it? It was never there. It's just a colonial entity, and some people choose to make it into a national identity. And this parrot has been just repeating Hamas propaganda. Marwan Barghouti that she's talking about him, she never met him. I knew Marwan before he got to power. He's a criminal. He killed 5 people. He has blood on his hands. He cheated on his wife. He has a secret son that he never revealed.
Okay. This is... That's a lot of words for 30 seconds, I'll say that. What do you think this is? Jerry Springer? The Maury Show? Hey, listen, lady. You don't know who this guy is. He cheated on his wife. He has blood on his hands. You never met him. You're not this. You're not that. Ah! Ah! Palestine's never existed. Ah! 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 If I yell and scream louder enough, you'll believe me. Ah! 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 I'm sorry. But if that is your argument, that you have to yell and scream at the top of your lungs on a practically milquetoast news show, news platform here, you're losing. You're losing the argument. People are going to notice that. People are going to, even if they have no idea what's going on with Israel and Gaza, even if they have no recollection to the past few months, they know the minute you turn on to this and witness what he just said there, he's on the losing end. You might as well shed a tear and cry and call this lady a racist. Like, you know that you're losing this argument.
To the public, of course I can't criticize him, and I can't criticize all the criminals that I know personally. She's been there only for a visit, and maybe she had some falafel sandwich, you know, and she really was blown away of the Palestinian experience. There is no such a thing as Palestine. It's about time to retire, find a different job. You're not a journalist. You don't qualify even to be a mother.
Wow.
Wow. Holy crap. Like, again, it shows how much you are desperate to cling on to this. So I don't know who this guy is, but I'm guessing this guy is some sort of insider. Maybe he's part of the Mossad. Maybe he's like an Israeli intelligence official. I don't know. But he's so desperate to cling on to this that he's not only going to attack Abby Martin for being a journalist, but to go down the route of saying you're not even qualified to be a mother. What any of that has, what a mother has to, what that has to do with the situation. It's just, and you bring that up, it's just absolutely disgusting. And again, how is that going to win your argument? How is that going to win your argument? You didn't even have an argument. You're just saying random words and putting them together. Oh, this guy never existed. And this guy is a criminal. And you went over there. You will respect my authority. Maybe he's like a Mossad Eric Cartman. Can you imagine? You will respect my authority. You're not qualified to be a journalist. As he's on a show with Piers Morgan. Come on. Speaking of unqualified journalists and discrediting them, may I represent Anderson Cooper, Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes. We have a laundry list we could choose from of journalists that should not be titled journalists. Oh, So here's Abby Martin's response, and Abby Martin's actually going to take the high road a bit.
Abby.
Masab, it's usually a public figure. If they were caught lying about half the things that they said, they would be completely discredited and never allowed airtime. You are spewing such ahistorical anti-Arab bigotry that not even the fringe of Israeli society would agree with you. I mean, not even Israeli historians.
I'm anti-Islam. I'm not anti-Arab. I am Arab. I am Arab. This is my ethnicity.
Sir.
Islam is just
anti-Muslim bigotry.
I am not a Muslim.
Mazhab.
We are Arabs.
Mazhab. Okay, then anti-Muslim bigotry, which is frankly appalling considering that there's a billion people on the planet who would be characterized as you as, extremists who need to be used force against, according to you. But Masab, not even Israeli historians would agree with the fact that you claim that there's no military occupation in the West Bank, that there's no apartheid state. Israelis at least admit, yes, those things exist, but here's why they're necessary and justified. They don't even agree with you. You're so fringe that I don't even know where you're coming from. I mean, so again, if we can't even agree with the basic facts of the conflict and the reality in front of our eyes, I don't know how we can really even discuss this.
What's that?
Yeah, because you don't qualify.
Well, I think
It's
the
as
political
simple as that.
credentials. Listen,
Well,
everyone's entitled.
Because you don't qualify. You don't qualify. You go this way, I go this way. I go you go Literally, it's like watching a freaking cartoon. You have Abby Martin, who is trying not to laugh. You can see that she's like biting down her tongue, trying not to laugh at how stupid this guy is. And this guy is just screaming so loudly and making himself even louder because he thinks that's going to win an argument. If you scream loud enough, apparently that's going to make you more winnable in a debate. Like, how stupid this guy is. How really stupid this guy is. And let's not mess with the fact that we showed in the last video, people in Tel Aviv, Israeli citizens are protesting against their own government right now. They're protesting against the authoritarian militarized measures that Netanyahu and his tactics in the IDF are pushing towards the Palestinians. They don't like that. They want diplomacy. They want to secure the hostages, which, as we revealed, Netanyahu couldn't care less about the hostages because they had every opportunity to safely return the hostages and protect those people. But like most manufactured wars, it had nothing to do with people. It had nothing to do with people. It's nothing to do with religion. It has to do with the fact that we need some sort of scenario to scare and fearmonger people into ordinance of the war regime change. We need to scare people that our militarized force can then do tactical, horrific carnage on innocent lives and make it look heroic.
Listen, Piers, best case scenario, if there is an occupation, it's between Israel and Jordan, or it's between Israel and Egypt, because it was not an occupation of a country called Palestine. There was never Palestine in history. This is not an absurd statement. It's reality.
So where are the fences and Israeli military in Egypt? Where are they in Jordan right now? Are they starving the people of Jordan? Are they starving the people in Egyptian cities? Worst case scenario, they're not in those occupied territories. They're occupying Palestine. They're occupying Gaza. And they're moving farther and farther along to invade other countries. Because, again, as we keep revealing to people, there's a lot more to the story than just October 7th. As horrific that day was and how tragic the news broke, this thing is way deeper than just two nations. And this has to do a lot with intelligence. This has to do a lot with the war apparatus, the global war apparatus. And this also has to do a lot with Netanyahu himself, who proclaimed that regardless of if we had a deal to get back the hostages and some sort of diplomacy, he's going to invade other nations like Lebanon and Rafah. He does not care about the people, and people in Israel are awakened to that, and that's why they're protesting against their own government. Unlike this guy who has no idea about that. He doesn't understand that people in Israel are upset at their own government. He thinks that it's the destiny to continue this carnage on to protect the civilians of Israel. Well, the civilians of Israel realize that they're not being protected. They're actually being jeopardized. Their safety is being jeopardized the more they continue on this war.
Palestine never existed. It was not a country. It was not a nation. It's not an ethnic group. We are Arabs. We are the Arabs of Judea and Samaria. And when I was born, like millions of Palestinians, we had Jordanian birth certificate. The people of Gaza were Egyptian with Egyptian birth certificate. There was no Palestine. Yasser Arafat created this entity, and everybody believed him. And this lie must die. This is why I don't like what Abby and her likes doing by trying to delegitimize Israel. She's trying to discredit me. Who gave you the authority? How dare you?
You are a
I'm
spy.
son of that region.
You're
I'm
a
a
spy
child of
for
that
Israeli
region.
intelligence,
You don't-
Massad.
Who gave you authority? Who allowed you to talk? This is just so cartoonish. Absolutely so cartoonish.
It is not funny. It's not funny. Your tale,
It's
your
not
false
funny at
narrative
all.
need to
It's-
stop because
it's
you
not
are
funny at all,
creating chaos.
Massad.
Listen, Abby, you are bringing
Massad, you're
chaos to the
very-
United States and you will be held accountable. You are just a
Okay.
criminal like them.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not laughing at what he's saying. I'm laughing at the tone at which he's saying it. I'm laughing at the fact that, you know, you're trying to pass yourself as some sort of credible voice to protect the civilians of Israel and trying to make that argument. But yet you're screaming at the top of your lungs. You're yelling at a journalist who's been to Palestine, who has researched and documented for so many years. And you also discredit her as being a journalist and also a mother. Like, you're really digging yourself a really big hole here, buddy. And I just don't know how farther you can continue to dig before you look up and realize how far you've gone downhill.
Okay, Massad, you can't be taken seriously, and you're not legitimate because you have
I
worked
don't
for
care
Israeli
if you take me
intelligence to out
seriously
your
or
own
not.
people. But listen,
Sooner
okay, but
or
Massad,
later
you
you
can't discredit
realize.
my reality as well. You can't discredit my reality as well. I was in the West Bank. I had assault rifles
Then
pointed at
don't
my head from a
dare you.
17-year-old
Don't dare you
American
try
from
to
Palo
discredit me.
Alto. That's an occupation.
You are in my domain
Massad.
right
That's
now.
a military occupation.
Okay, you are in my domain. When you come to my domain, you have to pay respect.
What the hell? What? What does that even mean? When you're in my domain, you have to respect me. You're in my domain. You're in my power. Oh my God. Is he a wizard now? Is he like, I hypnotized you. Now you must say the words that I'm saying. I'm going to take you away from the lies that I just said they're lies, but they're actually truthful. Come to my domain. Oh, this is so bad. So bad.
You have to respect all the effort that I put to save human lives, and you cannot reduce that into some propaganda because
why
it's
on
not.
earth would I
It's not
respect you
about
for
Israel.
putting
It's
the
about
leader of Fatah, Massad? You put the most unifying, popular Palestinian figure. You are credited to putting him in prison. This is someone who would win an election against Hamas. He is a peace activist. He was fighting for a two-state solution. This isn't about Hamas, and you know it. This is about you.
So, Ivan Martin leads off with an excellent point here of the leader of the Palestinian resistance before Hamas came in was actually elected by them against the Hamas terrorists. And here you are trying to conflate the Palestinian liberation movement, who was elected by his people, by grassroots activists in Palestine, to have diplomatic immunity so that Palestinians and Israelis can live comfortably in a two-state solution. And then Hamas came approaching, and Hamas basically took over the Palestinian resistance and conflated with that. But as we have revealed, and as none of these people ever brought to attention, is they never actually ask where did Hamas come from? And it's because they're afraid to reveal this fact, that for years Netanyahu propped up Hamas, now it's blown up in their faces. They forget to realize that the person responsible for this havoc is the same perpetrator that is saying that we are stopping Hamas. Sometimes it takes a a democratically elected leader, and I use that term loosely, to create terrorist groups around the world so that they can stop the problem that they're creating. It's much like Hillary Clinton infiltrating the Mujahideen, which you revealed in 2010. So there's the Times of Israel reporting that. There's the Jerusalem Post. So even the publications in Israel is not hiding from this fact. Netanyahu, money to Hamas, part of strategy to keep Palestinians divided. That's why this is happening. It's nothing to do with the protection of anybody. It's the fact that they want to massacre, they want to slaughter, they want to take over their land, and also the fact that under Palestinian land, where Gaza and the West Bank are, there's a bunch of natural resources that they want to impoverish. So they want to throw these people out. They want to extract those resources, much like we've been doing for the last 20 plus years. So when people finally come to terms with this and finally realize that this is just another mass manufactured war, part of the war machine that creates terrorist groups in order for us to fight the creation of the terrorist groups, you're going to realize how much of a joke these debates are. You're going to realize how much of a joke it is to have these pro-Israel intelligence buffoons going on television screaming at people and silencing them out and censorship and why we got to realize how much they're pawns to this scheme to keep us conflated as much war as possible. Because like Julian Assange always reminds us, the purpose of these wars is not to win these wars, but it's to keep the war going. And they want to keep this genocide going. That's why they have to crack the heads of college students, silence people on TikTok, and call everything anti-Semitic, including creating laws to now vilify people for saying anything and critiquing Israel as anti-Semitic. And here's also, this is even the AP. Even the AP picked this up. Netanyahu vows to invade Rafah with or without a deal as ceasefire talks continue with Hamas. So again, this has nothing to do with the hostages, nothing to do with safety, nothing to do with security. It's all being lied, manipulated, and pursued to use us as collateral to massacre people by the thousands for their bloodthirsty, blood-curdling, evil ploy agenda. So they can extract resources, so they can manufacture more wars with other countries, because they're going to pursue into Lebanon. They're going to go into other territories. This is not going to stop. They're not going to have an arrangement to stop this. But luckily, the citizens are going to hold them accountable to stop the carnage from getting worse.